Derek here from Rural Investing. Just start out with my disclaimer. This is not financial advice. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. Should always do your own due diligence and consult your own life and knowledge and other resources before making any type of investment. Had a few minutes this morning. Kids are off at their homeschool hangout on Monday mornings. I have the week off, and so I was out working around the homestead, moving some hay bales, getting ready. We have a winter storm coming in. Hopefully not, but looks like it'll be here. Want to take a little break from all of that work and labor to try to put out video number 2 here. And so what I first want to do is a little bit of housekeeping. This channel is most definitely geared towards beginners, right? We're not looking at meat and potatoes here at these subjects. We're looking at a few sips of milk. And so if there's words that I use or leave something a little bit unclear, please feel free to message and we'll clarify those. And for those who want to have more in-depth conversations, I would say do the same thing. We're not going to get heavy into tax rates and return of capital, at least not for a little while. And we're also not here to say that income investing is better than growth investing, or that options are bad, or leverage is something that you would never touch. What we're here to do is just talk about the benefits of investing for income and why I do it and why it may or may not be beneficial for you, right? This is not a one size fits all. It's not a cookie cutter pitch. It's just what works for me, and I want to share it with those who may not be as interested in this stuff naturally as I find myself to be. And so today's topic is revenue, really. It's probably the most important aspect of investing for me. I've got a large number of kids, a stay-at-home wife. We've got the homestead, which requires hay and a lot of replenishable resources and vehicles. And it came to the point where I just couldn't make enough money per hour, and I didn't have any more hours to work, right? And I feel like that's a situation a lot of people discuss and might find themselves in. And it's a real problem. How can I make money without putting in my time? And I thought about it for a while, and we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and I went, well, how did my mom do things, right? And she had figured out ways to delay paying for stuff with low interest rates. Okay, she used these 0% credit card offers and was able to help me pay for college, for example, by paying a small fee but not having to pay the money for an additional 18 months. And she did this for like a decade. And I went, oh, okay, that's kind of an interesting thing to think about there, right? She was able to delay her costs. It's not quite revenue, but she was able to delay until she could get that money to help participate, pay, and send her kids to college. And so I was sitting there thinking about that, and then I went, oh, if I'm retired, right, I need revenue. And how do I get that revenue? I get it passively. And I went, can I apply this to my life now? Can I give myself a 50-cent raise, right? Let's start small. Let's test it out. Will it work? Can I go from $20 an hour to $22.50 an hour without having to put in any real extra time? And so that was my premise when I set out to do this. And it turns out there are a lot of vehicles out there where you could give yourself this raise. And so I went the route of my mother, and I was able to borrow at a good credit score at a very low rate. I took that money and actually stuffed it into, at the time, JEPI, J-E-P-I, 7% yield ish. And it worked. It wasn't great returns. It's not where I would go now. But it worked. It proved the hypothesis correct. And so now I could take that and apply it to a larger point in my life, right? And so I was successful in driving up my revenue. And so that's what we want to go over today. So first off, what is revenue, right? Revenue is any money that comes into you, right? It's the full amount of your paycheck. It's a check from grandmother for your birthday, if you're lucky enough to still have one. It's picking up a penny or a quarter off the sidewalk. Anytime money comes into you, we're going to call that revenue for this channel. And the reason that is so important is that I am naturally a cost cutter. Right? I'm going to reduce my costs. I'm going to try to find a cheaper hay supplier. I'm going to ask my wife if we can go down on the quality of grain. That's just naturally where my thought process goes. And it wasn't until really just a few years ago when I was actually working on a project with a coworker, and we had discovered or stumbled into a newer technology, not necessarily newer, but a technology that was coming into wider applications. And we were figuring out how to apply it, how to get it to work, and what we could do about it. And he wanted to meet in person. And not just meet in person, but go out to dinner, spend a few days in the market, hit stores, build relationship with me. And my response was, that's going to cost us like $1,500. We don't need to spend that money. And he immediately spun around, as we were talking, and he was like, we're talking about millions of dollars in revenue, and you're worried about $1,500 of cost. Right? If this is something you believe in, that $1,500 to get it right is negligible. And that really has stuck with me, and it's why I like income investing for me. It's why I'm able to make more money per hour without having to put in more time or get a raise or manage people. And so I want to bring that information to you, right? The goal of increasing your revenue is to make more money while you're at work, while you're sitting in your commute, while you're eating dinner with your family, while you're at your kids' sporting events, while you're sleeping. And for me, this one gets a little bit personal. It's after I'm gone. I mentioned stay-at-home wife and large, family of kids in my early 40s. Bringing revenue in falls entirely on my shoulders. And I needed a way where I could sleep at night knowing that if something happened to me, my family would be taken care of. We can cover the bills. My kids could still go to college or start a business or go hike mountains. One of them would love to go hike K2, and he might have that ability when he turns 18 because of this style of investing, which I will be teaching to him for that exact reason of freedom. He can make money while he's trying to climb these mountains and work his way up. And so I am able now to sit here and go, my wife and kids will have the money provided by me even if I have died. And that really is the key here, right? What we're looking for is how can you make sure that you can provide continuously going forward. And for me, that started about 4 years ago, and I've gotten to the point where I can finally say that is now accomplished. And so, when you're in there and you start opening these brokerages accounts and you're looking to do some of this stuff, the whole point is to have a consistent ability to grow your revenue. What I would have, I'm not supposed to give advice here, right? We're not talking about yield max, round hill leveraged funds. We're not talking about Amplify or some of these other things that are going to have yields, right, of 30, 40, 50, 60%. Those yields have a role, but they come with things that we're not talking about yet. They are going to probably see some decay and decline, and you really have to manage those. What we're talking about is something that seems to be consistent in terms of its value, maybe even small appreciation, and also has a relatively consistent dividend payout or distribution payout. Something like an SPYI, a QQQI. If you're looking for a little bit more risk or you believe in cryptocurrency, you have a BTCI or blocks, and those things are down 30% this month. Crypto is sort of in a bear market, right? And that's okay for me because I do own small positions in both of those, and my distributions are still coming. My revenue is still higher than my cost of those funds, and so I am still profitable. I'm still cash flowing. Those funds, the 30% drop in price, didn't affect me. Can actually go down another 60, 70% before it would bother me in the slightest, because those funds have shown the ability to potentially recover back up when the asset goes back up in value. And for most of us, if you're investing over the long period of time, the chart goes up and to the right. Yep, there are downs, but they always come back up and go up and to the right. I guess I'm an eternal optimist in that way. And so if you are interested in this and looking for a place to start, or opening a brokerage, I use Robinhood. I use Robinhood because it has low borrowing rates when we get to that point. But in addition to that, make sure you get your free stock. Sign up with somebody who already has it. Wait for a promotional code. They'll give you $5 or $10 to start this. And when you get in there, start small, right? What are you making now? If I have a couple $100, $50, $20 a week, how can I get myself that 50-cent raise? How long will that take to get there? And what you'll find is that A, you'll be profitable the first distribution payment that you get. Depending on when you get it, it'll be somewhere between 30 and 35 days if you're an SBYI, and that will be profitable. You will profit month one. I can't think of another, I guess what I'll call small business, where you're going to walk in, deposit funds in, and start off with profitability. With income investing, you can do that. And so I'd like you to have some confidence knowing that that first distribution payment is profit for you, right? Don't worry about the share price going up or down. The things that we're talking about here recover. And so as long as you are getting those distribution payments, you are starting to build towards that growth in revenue and that higher pay per hour, which is really where we're going with this video. So, thank you for tuning in today. Hopefully this was educational, and we'll continue our journey on going forward.